The world is waking up, and you finding your way here today is no coincidence. The spirit world always has a way of guiding us where we most need to be at the absolute perfect time. I'm your host, Lindsay Morlock, and you're listening to the Guided Podcast, where we explore how the spirit world works on our behalf to guide us along our paths. This is where you'll learn how to live a life that is both conscious and connected, so you can supercharge your pathway to healing and open to life's magic and miracles. Come along this journey to see how guided you truly are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Guided Podcast. We are back this week with Catherine Ann, our intuitive astrologer, who is going to be discussing with us the upcoming full moon in Leo, which is slated to happen on February 12th. So, Catherine, take it from here. What are we in for with this upcoming full moon?
Great. So the full moon in Leo. So just as that foundational piece, let's walk through that full moon, shine the light, right? So when we have the new moon, we're planting the seed. And the full moon is when that seed, it grows, it blossoms, it comes to fruition. And then we get to really see what's happening. Maybe it needs a little bit longer before we're going to harvest fruit, or maybe we're going to pivot and go a different direction because it didn't grow the way we wanted it to. But it's shining a light, and it's in a way a culmination point because it's the end of one phase and then moving on to, and now what? So the full moon in Leo is always going to happen in Aquarius season. The new moon in Leo happens during Leo season. So we talked about the new moon in Leo about 6 months ago in August. And in that conversation, we talked a lot about the idea of self-expression, self-love, and that desire to, I just want to be me. I just want to show up as me and really shine your own inner light. And so now, 6 months later, we're looking at how's that working out for you? Did you plant a seed and nurture it and give it what it needed so that it could blossom and grow and really develop into something that you're bringing out into the light? Or are we realizing that however things went, whatever you were really wanting back 6 months ago, maybe it's not what you want anymore. Maybe you're like, okay, that was good but I realized maybe that really isn't how I wanted to do things. Things have changed. So this full moon in Leo, the thing about Leo is the lion, right? So it's regal and bold and majestic. And Leos are the performers. They shine bright. They're ruled by the sun. And so it's this big, bright light. So when we have that full moon in Leo, it's bright, bright, bright because we have all of that beautiful sun energy reflected into this full moon. So what we're going to be looking at when we look at Leo is, what does our heart really want? And where are we at with that? Are we really ready to show up fully, standing tall? I keep getting this image of a Leo, like a lion standing up on the stage. This is me. They just gave me another Wicked song because I always seem to have the soundtrack of Wicked in my head. But like, it's me, right? This is me. Here I am in all my glory. That's this full moon in Leo energy. And then we always talk about there's some other elements because there are more planets in the sky. And so sometimes they interact with that full moon energy. In this case, we have two main things going on with the moon and then another side thing that I want to talk about. The first thing is that when we have a full moon, the sun and the moon are opposite in the sky. So right now we're in Aquarius season. The sun is in Aquarius. The moon is in Leo. That's what makes it a full moon. They're completely opposite of each other. We also have right now Mercury in Aquarius, very close to the sun. A couple days before this full moon was when Mercury hit its Cazimi point, was when they're exact. And that's when, you might have this bright burst of information because Mercury is information and messaging. And so maybe in the day or two before the full moon, you got an aha, like, oh, or an email or a text, and you went, oh, new information. Okay, this came to light. And it may or may not have bearing for you on this full moon because it is also in this same place. So Mercury is sitting there right with the sun, opposing the moon. And then our favorite planet, Uranus, is squaring the both of them. So you have heard me say the impact of Uranus so much this year. And it's just like, you can't make these things up, right? Like the Uranus breakdown and breakthrough and expect the unexpected and ground shaking or the lightning bolt. And it's literally, it should just be like the theme song of this year, right? Like expect the unexpected and change and unknown. And the important thing is that for some people, change is very scary. And for other people, it's like, yay, change. For Uranus, it's neither. It's just change. There's no judgment on it. It's just change, unexpected, different. And so it's really about how we move with that that impacts how it's going to show up in our life. Because this is a square to Uranus, which is a aspect of tension, frustration, delay, disappointment. And so none of those words are super like, yay, this is going to be easy, but it's also about how we receive it, right? Because maybe that unexpected flash, because this is Uranus squaring the sun and the moon, but it's also because Mercury's right there. It's squaring Mercury too. So it was much more exact a couple days before, but it's still very close and very relevant. So what happens when we have this Uranus squaring all this energy is some more impulsivity, eccentricity, unpredictableness. For some people, they might have a hard time turning off their mind. And especially if you're sensitive to stimulants like coffee, caffeine, nicotine, whatever, if you're sensitive to these stimulants, you're going to be extra sensitive. And you might even be sensitive to them for these few days, even if you aren't normally, because the energy is almost like a stimulant in that sense. So you're already with that baseline, and then you have that whole jug of coffee, and it's going to be even more so. So a real energetic, impulsive, erratic. With Mercury, we're always talking the mind. We're talking about thinking, speaking, writing, all these mental activities. So as I was saying before, with the sun, Cazimi Mercury, a couple days before the full moon, that might have been like a bright light, like a quick, oh, I got an email or a text or a phone call that, oh, that brought something to light. Oh, that's interesting. That's good news. It's not necessarily, again, not necessarily good or bad, but because it's the light of the sun, it brings something to light. But then when we move in with that square to Uranus, that's where it's like, with an edge. There's like, I don't know that I really wasn't expecting that. Still not good or bad, just, oh, I might have to process that for a second. So the other thing about this is that you can be unwilling to compromise or work with others in this dynamic because sun and moon. So moon in Leo is Leo, the leader, the king of the jungle, not I want to say not the pack animal, not the everybody, let's all work together. That is the Aquarius energy, but Aquarius energy is also very eccentric and I need to be me. And then we have Uranus going, yeah, I don't know if I like your point of view because I need to do things my way, or you want to do it slow and I want to do it fast. It's just that juxtaposition of not quite all on the same page. And so it could be a little tricky trying to do a collaborative action with this full moon in Leo. So if you have a group project or collaborative action that you're going to do, just be aware that you might want to think before you speak. Little challenging with Uranus squaring Mercury, because you're going to get flashes of insights. You're going to get ideas. You're going to want to let them out, but maybe take a breath so that everyone has a chance to share their flashes and insights. So other element that we have going on that is actually kind of nice element. It's interesting because it's Mars and Saturn. So the malefics, which normally when we think of Mars and Saturn, we're like, oh boy, what's Mars doing? Mars is causing drama and Saturn is a hard edge reality. But they're in trine, which is a flowing aspect. And so we have this Saturn, disciplined, determined, focused, and Mars, action and drive working together. So you will have the ability to persevere through something with this Mars Saturn trine, which I think will show up really nicely in the long-term implementation of whatever you're moving through, right? Again, I'm going to use an example. You have this project you've been working on. You planted the seed back in August. You've gotten to this place where you're like, yes, I think it's ready to bring it out into the world. It's coming to its culmination point of all the pieces have been written. And now you need to move it into the world and actually apply it. Well, with this Uranus business, there might be some unexpected shifts or changes that happen around it. But at the same time, you have that Saturn and Mars in that really nice flowing relationship where they say, don't worry, we've got this. I can persevere. I can get through this. That was a moment. That was a blip. We've got this. And being able to then ground in that energy. The other thing about this is that Mars has been retrograde for a while. It's going to turn direct on February 23rd or 4th, depending on where you are in the world. That's hallelujah that Mars is turning direct. So right now with this full moon, Mars is retrograde. So there may be elements from the past that get brought into this perseverance, right? Like, I know how to do this. I've done this before. I can do this, or I'm going to pull back someone I knew from the past to help me persevere through this. But then just within 11, 12 days after this full moon, Mars is direct and we're going. So that's actually another reason to be optimistic about, even though there might be a hiccup or a change or an unexpected with Uranus, we have this solid energy that's going to help us move even further into what we're trying to accomplish with this full moon in Leo. So I wanted to talk about what the theme was before I go in sign by sign. So the theme is really interesting because, as I mentioned, I keep envisioning like Leo up on the stage, loud and proud, right? But what Spirit gave me was the power of a lion comes not from his roar, but from his majesty. Just so beautiful. And I feel like there's just something here about, we talked about planting that seed back in August of who am I? I want to stand in who I am and shine my light for who I am. And shining your light is your majesty. You don't have to scream it from the rooftop. You don't have to tell everybody how great you are. You just be you and shine your greatness. And that is what this full moon in Leo is really offering to us is, hey, I'm pretty great. Look at me shine. And I'm just going to, there's that phrase, they just dropped it in, that phrase of a lighthouse doesn't run around trying to rescue the boats that are near its shore. It just stands there and shines its light. That's what this feels like to me. Just stand there and shine your light. And that is where the power is.
Yeah, I feel the not even leading by example, just living by example, like just being your most unique individualistic self and allowing your light to be the force that carries you through the world and others just can't help but be magnetized to it. I think it's about not only authenticity, but being in integrity within yourself. Because when we are in our own integrity, it makes us feel really good about ourselves. The thing that's always so challenging about being out there and being seen and our majesty is it brings up all our fears about who we're not. It might bring up our insecurities. It might bring up fears around being seen in a bigger way or for our oddities or eccentricities, right? And so then we end up wearing all of these masks that just cover up who we really are. And I think those were the seeds that we were talking about planting before, like ripping off the masks and who do we really want to be and who are we really stepping into. And if anyone listened to our energy theme discussion, we were really talking about how it's time for us to get really still within ourselves. And I think that's the place where we really connect with our majesty. That's where we connect with our own divinity. And when you talk about the lion being majestic and its majesty, the majesty is within us. It doesn't come externally. It comes from the inside out.
It just oozes. The lion just oozes its strength in its quiet confidence. Is it capable of roaring? Absolutely. But does it need to be the leader of its pride? It doesn't. It's innately itself, right? It's shining its innate majesty. And so we're going to really look at where in our life is this full moon shining bright? What area is the light shining on? And that to me feels like the space where you get to really stand in who you are in this one particular area. And then we're going to talk about, and where is that pesky Uranus maybe throwing a curveball or a hiccup that you have to then navigate within your strength and presence as opposed to, and I can't help but think about there's a lot of loud energy in the collective right. There's a lot of roaring for a lot of reasons. And I feel like potentially this Leo energy could make that louder in the sense of like, I want to be heard. But Spirit is saying the power comes from being that bright light, standing in your truth, standing in your knowing, and then that just is. And so when there's that opportunity for a little rattle from Uranus, you get to choose. Am I going to roar or am I going to stand in my majesty? And in your majesty is where you get to then watch this project or whatever you were bringing manifestation that you're bringing into fruition. You get to watch that bloom and grow even more. Whereas it feels to me like if you choose the roar side, it may stunt that growth because the energy now moved into your roar and not into the growing of whatever this manifestation was that you were bringing to life. So we are going to start off with Gemini, actually. Gemini rising, top of my list today. And what we're looking at is what area is the moon shining on? Where is Uranus throwing that curveball or unexpected news or event? Really likely for it to be some sort of messaging because of that attachment to Mercury. So like I had mentioned before, phone call, text, email, something on the media, story you read, something like that. And it could be a download too. And then remembering that because we have that beautiful connection between Mars and Saturn, we have the emotional capacity and the determination to persist in the way we want to persist. We have what it takes to be solid in taking the steps we need to take. And so because we have that, can we choose to stand in the majesty? So for Gemini, we're going to start with you. So for Gemini, the moon is shining a light on your third house of neighborhood, communication, school, siblings, short trips, the junk box. And what came to mind right away is what communication are you trying to bring to light? Have you been working on a writing project? Have you been developing a new class? Are you interested in design, like going on a short trip and you've been planning it? And this Uranus in your 12th house of the subconscious, maybe you're going to have a dream or a flash of understanding from your subconscious where you realize how you're holding yourself back or what fear is at the root of you not being able to really move to the next step in this project. And so you're going to be having that little Uranus moment of, hey, this is my fear, my self-conscious belief that is sabotaging me shining. I'm not doing that. I have the strength. I have the emotional capacity and determination to step in to what I want and shine. Okay, so for Cancer, we're looking at the full moon shining a light in the second house of money, possession, income, assets, cash flow. And then Uranus is in the 11th house of friends, wishes, community, groups, and associations. And so this is actually, because it's in the second house, this is on your financial axis. So when we're looking at what seeds did you plant back at the new moon, you may have been planting seeds about, I want to bring in a new stream of income. I'm looking at my cash flow. I have some ideas about bringing in money that's more aligned with who I am and my own self-expression. And it's really interesting because I think that with this Uranus in your group of, or your area of friends and groups, it almost feels to me like you're surprised they're not as supportive of what you're trying to bring out to light now. Maybe they're just not as steady. Maybe you thought that your whole organization was really going to be on board with this new plan, this new cash idea, and this new way to earn money. And you're like, whoa, they're not interested. So I think it has something to do with that and having to go, oh, wait, but this is still me. This is still what I want. It's not about them and shining in that light to hold in, but I am interested in this job or this opportunity. Okay, so we're going to move into Leo. Leo, this is all about you because this is the Leo moon. And so you are ready to shine brighter than ever because this is the time. Always the Leo full moon. It's, again, I get that song with Elphaba and Wicked singing, it's me. This is what Leo is feeling right now. And it's interesting because the Uranus little hiccup or the download or insight is in your career and public reputation space. And so it's making me wonder if you're going to get like news from a coworker or even because the sun's over in your 7th house with Mercury from your business partner, your spouse, a bit of information, a download or an insight where they're like, really, I think this, you're trying to be all you, but have you thought about you have job responsibilities, or some unexpected thing happened at work and now you have to negotiate it so that you can really shine your fullest self. So for Virgo, we're looking at this happening. The moon is in your 12th house. This is your hidden space, retreat, subconscious. And Uranus is in the 9th house of travel, religion, faith and divinity, higher education, learning. And so what we're looking at is when the moon is in your 12th house, this is an internal experience. This is not about, I'm going to go shine bright out in the world on my stage. This might be back in August, you started thinking, if I'm really going to be true to myself, I need to do some deep work. I need to do some soul searching. And that soul searching is really bringing to light some big things that you're uncovering deep down in your subconscious. And then because that's all coming to light, and then Uranus squaring it goes, so do you really believe what you believe now? Are your religious beliefs, are your spiritual beliefs, are your even educational beliefs, like if you're an academic, are those true? Do those really align with your self-expression now that you've uncovered so many truths about yourself and what makes you tick? And so I think that it's actually a really interesting rebirth for Virgo to say, oh, I get me even on a deeper level, and I might need to evaluate some of these long-standing faith systems or educational systems and whether or not they resonate anymore. So we're going to move into Libra. Libra, this moon is shining in your 11th house of friends and groups and hopes and dreams and good luck. And Uranus is in your house of death and taxes, resources from others, and the psyche. So you're probably really going to want to spend some time with friends, Libra. This is like, hey, let's get out there. Let's go do something. And and maybe even like you wanted to start a new meetup group, or you wanted to, your hopes and wishes are finally coming to light. And then you're like, oh, I got to deal with my taxes. I got an unexpected bill. Oh, I didn't even realize that automatic payment didn't go through. So it's like that little hiccup of, I got to go deal with some financial stuff and then I can go shine my light. So it's interesting because with Uranus, it feels big, right? It feels breakdown, breakthrough, unexpected change. But that's what this energy feels like to me. It feels like hiccups. It feels like, oh, I got to deal with that real quick. Or, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. And then you deal with it because you have that perseverance and emotional capacity that Mars and Saturn is helping you with. And then you go shine your light. So I just keep feeling this like little glitch in the matrix, and then we move on. Don't let it derail you because you could roar. I just got this image of I set up an auto payment and for some reason it didn't go through. And then I got angry letters of you didn't make your payment. And I was really, really frustrated because I was like, I did everything I was supposed to do. So you can take that approach, or you can take okay, I can deal with it now. No harm, no foul. I'm glad it's figured out, and move on. That's what this Uranus feels like to me. It's a blitz. So Scorpio, we are looking at the moon shining in your 10th house of career, fame, public reputation, and Uranus is in your partnership house, your marriage house. So if you're in a partnership, is your partner going to drop a little bomb? Like, oh, by the way, mom's coming to live with us, or like, oh, whoa, okay. Or spirit just said, hey, honey, have you ever thought about swinging? Like, whoa, wasn't expecting that little shift up in our partnership area. And the way that impacts work is that you have to spend a moment negotiating, right? Like, okay, but these are my career aspirations, but my partner needs me in some way or wants something to happen with me. And how do I navigate those? Because with this full moon shining in your 10th house of career, you could really be shining at work. And it might even be just so much as your partner saying, hey, I miss you. You're not around enough. It could be as simple as that. Okay, so Sagittarius, this full moon is showing up in your 9th house of travel, study, religion, and Uranus is in your 6th house of health, wellness, daily routine, illness. And this really feels to me like maybe getting COVID before you're supposed to go on a trip. This feels to me like, because this is Uranus in your 6th house of health and wellness, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to be sick? I'm supposed to go on this great trip that I've been planning since August. It's a blip, right? And also, I think very important with this is sometimes when we have these unexpected things happen with Uranus, it's that phrase, God's rejection is God's protection. Especially this situation just flew through my head. If you have a delay in a flight, for some reason, there's a mechanical issue, something happens, say thank you. That rejection is my protection. For some reason, I wasn't supposed to go. That's what this feels like to me. And this could also be in other areas, but that's a really straightforward for Sagittarius who wants to travel anyways, and a little hiccup with Mercury and Uranus. So Capricorn, we are seeing this light in our 8th house, which is again, death, debt, taxes, inheritance. And the Uranus little shakeup is in our 5th house of children, creativity, and romance. So I can imagine this is one of those things where you're like, oh, I've finally paid off that credit card. I worked on it all for the last 6 months. This is so great. I've been really getting my finances in check. And then your child says, Mom, can I redecorate my whole bedroom? I need all new furniture. Personal story. So this is that type of thing, right? This is your kid throwing you a curveball, or a romantic relationship, a date throwing you a curveball, and you're like, oh, I just got this area of taxes, mortgage, all this stuff taken care of, and now I have a little glitch. End of the world? No. But maybe a reassessment and a reorganization. You might actually, because this is the house of inheritance too, it might be one of those things where it's like you are anticipating an inheritance, but there's some tie to another child or a romantic partner where they're like, but what about this? And it throws a little wrench into it. That's another story that could happen there. So Aquarius, this moon is shining in your 7th house of marriage, partners, relationships, and Uranus is in your 4th house of family, your foundation, your roots, your lineage. And so for Aquarius, to me, the most obvious way that this might show up is something happening at home that's a glitch and it impacts your relationship. Because this glitch doesn't feel angry to me. It feels unexpected. So I'm not saying like, there's an argument and it impacts your relationship. It's more like, oh, so we have to do this repair on, or a family secret coming out maybe, and navigating that with your partnership. But it's like a new information has come to light and it impacts something you've been building with your partner. If you are not in a partnership, it may be something coming to light about you've learned that the way you interact in partnership has a lot to do with your family and your ancestry and your roots. And this might be another bit of information that helps you heal that even more. Okay, so a few more to go. We have Pisces. Your full moon is going to be in your 6th house of health, wellness, routines, illness, and work. And then Uranus is hanging out in your 3rd house of communication and your neighbors and short trips. And so this to me feels like you're finally figuring out how to create a daily routine that honors you, where you're like, as a Pisces, typically so empathic and wanting to do so much for others. And the 6th house can be the house of a service. But with Leo there, you really have to look at how do I still honor me and be of service to others at the same time that my Pisces side also values. So this to me looks like I'm finally getting my exercise routine. I'm finally getting something where I'm taking care of me. And then there's a glitch, like the carpool gets messed up and now you can't do your morning walk or, something like that, and having to navigate that and as you navigate that, then you get back to, but I need to remember I'm going to honor. And then we have Aries. Your full moon is in your 5th house of children, creativity, and romance. And Uranus is in the 2nd house of money and possessions. And so for me, this is the other side of the coin of what I was saying for Capricorn, where it's like, you're going to have this great love and joy come to life in this area of children and fun and romance. And then the hiccup is, oh, I thought I had more money than that in my bank account. Or, oh, that check hasn't come through, or something like that. Some little, I really need to pick up cash and this ATM's not working. some glitch like that where you're like, oh, money impacted my ability to just freely go and have fun at my fullest creativity. And then instead of getting angry and roaring about it like a lion, we're going to say, it's okay. I've got this. I know how to have fun with my kids. I know how to have fun in my creative endeavors. This too shall pass. We will work it out. And then Taurus, last but not least, your full moon is in your 4th house of home and family, and Uranus is in the 1st house of you. And so this is really interesting because the first thing that comes to mind is something like you do some impulsive thing, some crazy haircut, or something to change you and how you show up, a tattoo, something where you're like, this is me and this is how I'm going to show up. And then there's no hiding it from your family because the full moon is shining a light on your family. And you're like, but I'm just going to be me. And your family's like, oh, okay, we see that. So that is, you want to be fully who you are in your family and shining your light brightly there in your home, but there might be a little bit of like, I'm going to be a little rebellious too. So that is all of them we got all the way through. So just to sum up, I want to come back to shining brightly, little hiccups, little glitches, maybe quick downloads that have some sort of an impact on you trying to really shine in this manifestation of what you want to be, who you are, but knowing it's okay. We're just going to adjust. We're not going to roar about it. We're going to be majestic. We're going to breathe. And we're going to know that we can persevere with that Mars trine Saturn emotional capacity and persistence.
Well, thank you so much for all of this amazing information about the moon. If any of you are looking for a deeper dive into your own astrological charts, I will include all of Catherine Ann's information in the show notes, as always, where you can connect with her on Instagram, YouTube, or her website. And we will look forward to chatting with you all next time for the new moon. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Guided Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you would share it with a friend or even leave me a review so we can ensure that it makes its way into the ears of listeners who need to hear these messages most. Until next time, may you remember how guided you truly are.